That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today. If you're looking to quit drinking, you can go to thatsoberguy.com. We have plenty of resources there. Also, join us in our Sober Guy men's group. Connect over 500 men living free from alcohol. You can do that by going to thatsoberguy.com/men's group, or just click on the resources tab. That'll drop down, and you can join there. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. All the links from today's show will be in the show notes for you. Shout out to Humans Music for the intro. Always appreciate those guys. 3 ways to deal with stress without alcohol. Imagine that. It can be done. Is it easy sometimes in the beginning? No. But it can be done. It's a lifestyle change. It's a whole makeover. A lifestyle makeover. And it's scary at the same time. And I've been there. So if you're new to this stuff, I can understand and I can relate. And let me let you know you're not alone. And you're not crazy, and you're not a punk or weak, because you're a grown man who's trying to figure out working through emotional stuff and figuring out how to deal on life, or how to deal with life on life's terms versus your own terms, and how to deal with life, the ups, the downs, family, work, bills, all the things that we deal with, things that happen that are unexpected, loss. I mean, go down the list of things that can be really difficult. And it's like, how do we deal with life on life's terms without practicing the art of escapism through alcohol, or maybe another substance, or maybe another unhealthy way? An example of that, maybe it's eating. Maybe it is different substances besides alcohol. Maybe it's shopping. All kinds of different options out there to choose from to escape. And I even find myself sometimes on Amazon, late at night when I want to escape a little bit before bed. Do you ever do that? You put it in your cart and then you take it out, and then you put it in and then you take it out. I'm going to buy this. No, I'm not. Nope, I'm not. You do that for like a week. And little do you know or realize that you've spent like 4 hours browsing and looking at the same things and, putting it in your cart and taking it out. And it's escapism at the end of the day. It's really what it is. It's a way to numb out. And look, maybe there's nothing necessarily wrong with that when we compare it to something like drinking or getting high, or a number of other things that actually have some physical effects. But when we think about it, that does have effects at the end of the day when we're just wanting to numb out and not deal. So it's hard for me. And even when I hear myself say that, I go, gosh, that sounds kind of harsh, because, even me, I don't want to deal sometimes. Like, I just don't. And I don't want to think about stuff. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk about, recovery or sobriety, or what happened at work, or what happened, with the kids' sports, or at school, or with, this or that, or just sometimes I just don't want to do anything. You just feel like that sometimes. And what I used to do is escape through substances. And, thankfully I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that today. I get a choice, and so do you. And so hopefully here on the podcast and with resources at thatsoberguy.com, we can help some other dudes out there who are kind of going through the same thing and figuring out how to navigate this life on a healthy, more positive level, other than what we've been kind of conditioned to think, that we have to drink. We have to come home and be rewarded with alcohol, or we have to, when we go out to have a good time, drink, or we go to a game, we have to drink, or when we go to a birthday party or a dinner, we have to drink. And the thought of not doing that, for those of us who are early on, are starting to have those thoughts like, hey man, I'm getting a little older. I'm not really, I don't recover as fast as I used to. My relationship with my wife or my family or my kids or friendships or business, business relationship, business production, all that stuff, man, I'm starting to see like some negative effects, from the lifestyle that I'm living. And so I'm here to tell you there's another way. I explored it about 11 years ago and it absolutely changed my life. And that led to starting the podcast. And it led to the corporate work that I get to do today that, in communications and mental health and podcasting and all that good stuff. Man, it's a beautiful thing what God can do when we open ourselves up and we kind of let him work instead of trying to control everything too. And I just looked at myself really quick in the video version here, and I'm wearing the Oakland A's hat today. So rest in peace, Oakland A's. Apparently you're moving on to Sacramento and then Las Vegas. We'll see about that. We've been hearing that for years and we don't really know what the heck's going to happen, but poor Oakland, man, was once a great city. Unfortunately, I wouldn't even take my son to a game, the last year or two, just because it's a mess out there. And we lost the Raiders, they lost the Warriors and now the A's are gone out of there too. So, pretty sad, but hey, we had lots of good times there. And there were many a times spent in the parking lot, partying down, not even watching the game, because it wasn't about baseball at one time in my life. It was about drinking and partying. So I'm very grateful that I don't have to do that anymore, no matter what game I go to, these days. So, let's dive in 3 ways to deal with stress without alcohol. We're going to go over these. And then hopefully you get some takeaways here from some of these quick tips and use them. I mean, that's what I'm sharing them for. And these aren't things that like I just wrote down and just to talk about. These are things that I actually practice in my own life every single day, like pretty much every single day. I don't go to the gym every single day, but I'm usually trying to do something active, which is one of the points on here. But my point in that is these are things that work. These work. And when you show up and when you practice your plan and when you take action and when you do the things that you're supposed to do, whether you want to or not, because let's face it, a lot of the times we don't want to call somebody. We don't want to go to our men's group. We don't want to check in on the sober guy men's group, or we don't want to check in with our mentor or our sponsor, or we don't want to go to a meeting. We don't want to go to church. We don't want to connect with our buddy we're supposed to go have coffee with and chop it up a little bit. We don't want to do that sometimes because we think we got it. We put our head down. I got this, man. I'm good. I'm good. And that might work for a while, but at the end of the day, trying to control everything and navigate this life with no spiritual guidance and no community around us is just not going to work. And so when we do get stressed out, you might be good right now, but eventually there will be a point where you get stressed out. And I got to take those headphones off there. There will be a point where you get stressed out. And when that point comes, you want to be ready. You want to be in a good situation where your practice that you've been practicing is in a good place that you can implement those tools that that you have. You can use them now instead of, oh, I'm good, and not practicing anything because you're quote good. And then all of a sudden shit hits the fan and life gets thrown at you with some crazy stuff and you fold and you don't know how to deal with it because you haven't been actively practicing this stuff. So these 3 ways to deal with stress, it's kind of a cliche topic. I feel like, oh, the 3 ways to deal with stress. Okay. Like I get it, but it's the simple things that actually work. It's the simple things that help you make progress a little bit each day when we're implementing them, when we're practicing them. And it doesn't mean that we're perfect at them. You've heard me say it many, many times before. It's not perfection, it's progress. Progress, not perfection, however you want to put it, but it's true. So little steps, a little bit at a time each day, and it builds up. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the second one, the fitness or active part. But the first one, 3 ways to deal with stress without alcohol. Practicing prayer and mindfulness. Prayer and mindfulness. Taking a few minutes each day. And when I say that, gratitude kind of comes into this too, this prayer, this mindfulness, and being in a grateful spirit. But practicing for a few minutes each day, sitting with yourself, feeling your feet kind of touch the ground. I'm kind of doing it right now as I'm talking out my feet. I'm kind of sitting straight up in my chair too, feeling my body kind of sit and connecting my brain to my feet and to my legs and to the chair, and my mouth is moving and talking into this microphone. I'm very conscious of it right now. I remember my buddy Dave, I can't remember if it was a chat we were having or on a meeting or something, but he was talking about like eating, for example, and literally thinking about consciously every chew, every bite, swallowing the food, picking it up with the fork, like getting in that and it doesn't mean we do that every single time, right? I mean, that'd be kind of weird if we're honest, right? But what it means is we're reconnecting. We're taking time, sometimes whatever it is we're doing, to be conscious of exactly what we're doing, what we're thinking. Otherwise, it's so easy to get on autopilot and we just go. And that's when life starts to control us versus us surrendering and just kind of going with the flow, because we don't even know it. And we're not in a conscious state. We're almost robotic. And in my experience, that's when usually when I do dumb stuff or I say dumb stuff, or I'm just not on the top of my game because I'm living in this kind of subconscious atmosphere. And so back to the mindfulness, the prayer, the sitting, the feeling, take a couple minutes each morning when you wake up. It doesn't have to take 30 minutes. It can, if you want to meditate or pray for 30 minutes, that's awesome. For me, that's a long time. And I know for some who practice it a lot, they go 30 minutes, that's nothing. I mean, it just depends where you're at. There's no right or wrong way necessarily. It's just the way that works best for you. And that's what you kind of have to figure out. So for me, first thing in the morning, I have a reminder set on my phone. It goes off every morning at 6 a.m. Sometimes I'm up at 4:45, 5 o'clock. Sometimes I'm up at 6:30. Just kind of depends on the morning when I went to bed. But generally, I'm up around the same time, 5:30. It's usually pretty standard. But I see that alert go off if I forget, right? I get up, I drink some water, I grab some coffee. I usually use the bathroom. I start to get going. First thing I do though, when I'm waking up, is I'm in gratitude almost every day. I mean, I try to do this every day. Sometimes I have stuff on my mind and, like I said, progress, not perfection. We're not perfect, but for the most part, it's just like, and it's real simple. God, man, thank you so much for today. Like, thank you for another day. I can't wait to see what you have. And I'm so grateful for my family, my friends, my work that I get to go do today, money in my bank account, food on the table, just simple things. It's nothing crazy. The ability to have 2 legs and 2 arms and 2 eyes, like simplifying those things in life. Those are the things that we forget, and being mindful of those is absolutely huge. And it puts us in a state of gratitude. It puts us in a state where, we're in a positive mindset where we can operate from a good place versus a negative place or a victim mentality place, which is really easy to do if we're struggling and we're not on point. So this also helps the mindfulness, the prayer, the gratitude. It helps with anxiety as well. And just speaking of that, if you go to the website too, we have 10 days. I forgot what it's called now. But if you just sign up, you throw your email in there, and I'll shoot you over a guide, just how to get focused in gratitude in 10 days. And it's just a little exercise. It's real simple. It's based on gratitude, a gratitude list. And I know for some of you, especially you big tough guys out there, you go, that's ridiculous, but I'm telling you, it's not. It's not ridiculous. Putting a pen on paper and listing out your top, 5 things or your top 10 things in gratitude and doing that daily for 10 days, there's a mindset shift there that is not explainable unless you do it. As dumb as it might seem to you, as irrelevant as it might seem, it's extremely powerful. And it's not just writing it out that's powerful. It is the ability to go back and look at it every day and post it up where you can see it. It's absolutely huge. So I want to do this exercise real quick with you. And hopefully if you're driving, this might be a little tough, but you could probably still do it. Just be careful. Whatever it is you're doing, even if you're walking right now, you're at the gym, you can stop and take a minute and do this. So what I want you to do is I want you to just feel your feet right now. Okay. I want you to feel your feet. I'm kind of wiggling mine a little bit. Now I'm just posting them up and they're flat on the ground. Okay. I want my shoulders back. I want to just sit here for a second. And I'm just going to count to 3, and then I want you to take a big, deep breath through your nose and out through the mouth, okay? So feet are planted. You feel your body. You're very aware right now. You're very conscious in what you're doing. You're conscious in your state of mind right now in this moment. And on 3, we're going to take a breath. 1, in through the nose, out through the mouth. 2, 3. Let's do that one more time. Feeling connected right now to my body, to my feet, to my hands, to my mind, to my breath, all that stuff. I feel in the moment right now, and that's the goal. Okay. And then I want to remind you one more thing. I've shared this before, and my great buddy Seth Manter, been on the podcast many a times, a great influence and great friend of mine that's really helped me throughout the years, and just got to have breakfast with him the other day, as a matter of fact, and good times for sure. But he taught me this. He said, man, if you feel anxiety, you feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, whatever it is that you're feeling, you're just feeling off, just look at your feet, because God's got you right where you're supposed to be. And so that little trick, that little tool has been priceless for me over the years, because I do start getting going. I start getting in the subconscious. I start feeling overwhelmed and anxiety at certain times if there's things going on that I don't know how to deal with, or I don't know what decision to make. Man, just pause, take a deep breath, and look at your feet. And that's a great tip. And I hope that helps you. And if it has helped you, reach out to us. Let us know. I would love to hear feedback. I always love to hear from you guys and hear what's working for you. And if the podcast or some of these tips that myself or one of our guests has shared works for you. So mindfulness and prayer, number 1. Number 2, on the 3 ways to deal with stress without alcohol. Number 2, staying active. Regular physical activity. It reduces stress levels. It helps with anxiety. It helps build confidence. It helps in so many avenues of life. And especially as we're getting older, our bodies are changing, right? In our 20s, and if you're in your 20s right now, God bless you, but take care of your body now. That's the one thing I can tell you, because you ain't going to be young forever. And I don't mean to be a jerk and sound like a dick even when I say that, like this bitter 40-year-old's telling me, like, it's not what I'm saying. I guess it's from a personal place. I wish when I was in my 20s that I would have had that mindset. So you're welcome for sharing that with you. Number 1, if you are in your 20s or even your 30s at that, if you're in your young or mid 30s, like, man, take care of your body. And as we get older, 40s, 50s, we start getting into changes in our body. And if we don't take care of ourselves now, we're in a world or we could potentially be in for a world of pain and being unhealthy and having health complications. And nobody wants that. I recently had a kidney stone for the first time, and I thought I was dying, number 1, because I didn't know what it was. I had to rush to the emergency room, and it turned out to be a kidney stone. It took me over a month to pass it, and it was not fun. It was a really hard month. And part of the month that was really hard was not just not just the pain and, dealing with the physical effects of a kidney stone, which is not fun. Like I said, at all. It hurts. It's painful. It's frustrating. But part of the frustration was not being able to do what my mind wants to do or wanted to do. Part of the frustration was having to lay in bed in pain and know that there were certain things that I needed and wanted to get done that I just couldn't do, and even just help Jess out throughout the day, whether it was with the kids or stuff around the house or whatever it may be, even just mowing the lawn. Like, it was super frustrating, and it really put a lot of things in perspective for me as far as health goes. And so staying active is such a huge part of that, because as we get older, like I said, our bodies change and we want to be in a good space health-wise, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And so in order to do that, we have to practice this stuff. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, like a little bit each day. You have to do it a little bit. And sometimes it seems overwhelming, like you're not making any progress like that too. But I'm telling you, if you stick to it, before you know it, 3 months goes by and you go, damn, like, wow, I just hit the gym for 3 months. And I'll share this with you a little bit. It's not just about the gym and crazy workouts, but here's a little tip. Get a calendar, an old school calendar, put it right by your bed, right? I did this a couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago, when I first started this and tried it, and it worked so good. I put the calendar up by my bed, and my goal, I think it was, I had started at the beginning of spring or like the end of winter, whatever March is, right around March 1st. And so I took the whole month of March and I wrote gym Monday through Friday in each week throughout the month, right? And then, because my goal was to go to the gym 5 days a week and at least do something. Some days I kicked ass. I had great workouts, man, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then there were other days where I was sore or I didn't feel good or I just needed to recover. So I just sat in the sauna and rolled out. But the goal was to do something every day. And I just kind of adjusted to it as I felt, as my body felt good or it was recovering, whatever. But I wrote it on the calendar every single day, for that month, Monday through Friday. And then after I went to the gym that day, I put an X through that day. Let's say it was Monday. Boom, went to the gym, came home, or that night or whatever. My little Sharpie was right there. Boom, hit an X. Man, before I knew it, I was 3 weeks into March. Before I knew it, I was into April. Before I knew it, I was into May. And I had 3 months going of every single day. There was that accountability, and it was so simple. It wasn't anything crazy. I didn't have to spend a bunch of money, to do that. It was just really simple, and it was holding myself accountable, and I was motivated to do it too because I wanted to change. And so that little process there over those few months, I did it long enough to where it ingrained it in me. And now I go to the gym, I might miss a day or two or even 3 if I'm traveling. Like I just had to travel for work last week for like 3 days. And so I didn't really do much during those 3 days because I was super busy with work. And I just tried my best to, just to stay mentally fit and focused and all that. But as soon as I got home, man, I couldn't wait to get back and get on a walk or get and lift some weights or jump some rope, like whatever I felt like doing that day. And it was so important, not just physically. And I want to stress that, not just physically, guys, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's so important. And you can do anything. I've talked about this before. Weightlifting and walking is probably 2 of the best. And I learned that by following Dr. James D. Nicolantonio, I think is how you say his name. If you go, it's at Dr. James DINIC. I would highly recommend following him. I repost a lot of his stuff on our Instagram page, and he keeps it real simple. Walking, lifting weights, eating whole foods, getting sunlight, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, adding electrolytes to your water. It's not rocket science. The big companies, the big pharma industry, the food industry, even the supplement industry to some extent would have us believe that you need all this crazy stuff, to kind of operate. And you do this and that. And yes, there's plenty of good stuff out there too, natural natural medicines and herbs and all kinds of stuff that works great. And I would love, Jess could explain that a lot better than I could. She's really good about that stuff. But really at the end of the day, it comes back to simplicity. And I know for us dudes out there, keeping it simple is the way to be. And we're most of us are simple-minded dudes. We can do one, maybe two things at once if we're lucky, versus like my wife can do like 20 things at once and have a conversation and do it all, like cook and like clean and talk on the phone and go to work and homeschool the kids. And she can do it all like at one time. And I can't, wipe my ass and talk on the phone at the same time, which I don't know. I don't think I want to try that. I don't know if I've ever done that before. Maybe texting. I'll keep it at that. But point being, stay active. Okay. Stay active, especially as we get older. And as we relate that to stress and stress management, staying active, walking, lifting weights, stretching out, rolling out, even yoga. Seth is a huge, huge yogi. And I should actually have him on here. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll invite Seth back on and we can talk about yoga practice, because he's really doing a great job with that over the last, few years, however many years he's been doing it a while now. And I know it's a huge part of his mental recovery and mental fitness. And he would be a great one. So I'll take note of that. Just another great outlet or resource for you, to help stay active. And check out Dr. James as well. Be sure to follow him. That's another great resource. All right, 3 ways to deal with stress without alcohol. Our last one, connecting with others. Connecting with others. This one, so important. Reaching out to family, reaching out to friends, reaching out to your coach or your mentor or your sponsor, whatever that looks like for you when you're feeling overwhelmed. We have to reach out. We have to talk. We have to communicate. We have to connect. Connection is what makes the human spirit alive, is connecting with other people. Isolation is what the enemy does to keep us down and low vibration and not living purposeful lives, not connected to God, is what happens when we're stuck in a state of addiction and alcohol and trying to do things on our own. It just doesn't work. And we have to stay connected in order, in some sort of community to get support, right? And so I wanted to share a quick story. Well, actually, I wanted to say, first of all, I've worked with different men over time, and some of them, they do good for a while and then they go back and drink, and so maybe they have a week or a few weeks or whatever. And then all of a sudden, boom, they go out. And the one thing I've always told them is, hey, call me, reach out to me or reach out to someone, maybe you got another person, maybe you don't want to call me, but you're more than welcome to. Maybe you have this guy or that guy or someone else. Reach out to somebody. And almost every time, oh, I drank. They didn't reach out to somebody. They just, they got in their head, and I'm not faulting anyone for this. This is part of everyone's journey. So if, maybe you're going through this, I'm not saying you're bad or you didn't do it right or anything like that at all, but I'm pointing out the fact for accountability, because we have to grow in this and I have to call it out in order for people to see it and understand how important it is to reach out when we're in that spot, when we're in that situation and we're on, it's like we're in limbo almost, and the scales are starting to tip, right? We were really good here and we were going good the week, couple weeks, whatever. And then all of a sudden the scale's starting to tip and we start feeling a little bit weak and we start having urges and man, we don't know how to deal with stress, or we're feeling overwhelmed. We're beating ourselves up or whatever. And then instead of reaching out to someone, or instead of, jumping in a meeting, or, doing the tools and actions that we know what we're supposed to do, because most of us know what we're supposed to do, we just don't do it. And I'm guilty of that too. So I get it, but we have to reach out. And so this is the story I wanted to share. Last night, I got a text from a good friend of mine, just a great dude in the music business. And he was doing a show and he said, bro, Post Malone just offered me a shot of vodka. And I told him no. And kind of a tough spot right now. There's a lot going on here. I want to play this show and do a great job and then get the heck back home to my family. And so, man, it was so cool. to hear that, in that kind of high environment where there's a lot going on, that, that's a definite risky environment to be in. But if that's the work that you do, you're in the entertainment business, you're in the music business, you're going to come across some of that stuff. Even if you're in the sales business or, finance business, like a lot of those businesses, they kind of coincide all with each other, where there's a lot of high performing people who are very motivated, and they're hungry for what they do. They like what they do, but there's a lot of substance use in a lot of those fields and in those certain environments, that kind of those workplaces, I guess. So I was so proud of him, not just because he turned Post Malone down. I mean, come on, that's pretty cool too, right? I think I love his music, and great artist, and, just a cool dude at that. But like the fact that he said no, number one, and that he also reached out and said, hey, and it wasn't like he didn't reach out either and just say, oh man, I'm like, woe is me. Like oh man. And like make a big deal about it. It wasn't like that at all. It was just getting it out there. And that's what I try to explain to so many dudes out there too. You don't have to call, when I say call somebody or text somebody, you don't have to call and make it a big, long, drawn out thing. It doesn't have to be an emotional, dramatic like thing. These are thoughts that we have. These are urges that we have, and it's okay to have them. They're normal. They're natural. We're in those settings, and we have to learn to deal with them healthy. And part of learning to deal with them healthy is knowing how to respond to them when they come up. Because it's not if they come up, it's when they come up. It's not if that situation arises at the show or the concert or the wedding or the birthday party or the dinner or whatever event you're at. It's not if, but it's when. And so how do I deal with that? And number one, I don't beat myself up over it and go, oh my God, why am I having this thought? Oh my God, so you just offered me a shot. And like, no, it's just going, I don't drink. I'm good. Thank you so much. And then letting somebody know, texting one of your friends, hey, man, I'm at a party right now. I'm at a wedding. I have a definite reason to be here. I really love seeing, my family member get married, but there's a lot of alcohol and I started to kind of trip a little bit, but man, I got to ride home and I'm good, and just verbalizing it, getting it out there, telling somebody releases so much of the power. And this goes to whatever it is you're going through. It doesn't have to be just alcohol. Like if you're stressed out about, maybe there's a big decision that you're trying to make in your life right now. Maybe you're dealing with health issues. You don't know how to navigate, don't know what to do next. Man, just reach out and talk to somebody. Find a group, find some support somewhere. Connecting with others is huge. Okay. It's huge. So, thanks to my buddy for letting me share that. I said I wouldn't use his name and I'm not going to, but I did reach out to him and say, hey, do you mind if I share that story? Cause I thought it was a cool story and I'm just really proud of him. And, all of you guys out there who are doing, the next right thing. That's the biggest thing, doing the next right thing. It helps to keep us in the moment. It helps keep us away from future tripping. And it's a really great way and much more healthy way to live life, at least in my experience, it has been. So I want to leave you with this before we wrap up today. Speaking on connecting with others, a lot of us have family, we have friends, we have things that we've been through, and we have ups and downs with them. And I just want to say that life is short and the people that we love matter, even if we have differences with them. So if there's somebody that you need to call today, call them, reach out to them, connect with them. It doesn't have to be about you. Don't make it about you. In fact, make it about them. Make it about making their day good. Give them a call. How you doing? You haven't talked to them in a while. How are you? Man, it's great to hear your voice. I just wanted to call and say hi and just check in and just tell you I miss you. I love you. Man, that's going to go a long way, not just for that person, but you're going to find that when we're of service and when we're in that state of mind, that's going to help us so much more than you even realize, I think. It's going to make them feel good. It's going to make you feel good. And it's going to be a great way to kind of practice some of the things that we're working on, in staying sober, in being sober-minded, in living purposeful lives, in business, personal life, family, friends, all that stuff. So let's go over it one more time. 3 ways to deal with alcohol. 3 ways to deal with stress without alcohol. So number 1, practicing prayer and mindfulness. Number 2, staying active. And number 3, connecting with others. I hope something spoke to you today. I hope that one of these tips, would be a tool that you can use as you go ahead in your day, in your weeks, in your months, and hopefully in your sobriety. If you're looking for ways to quit drinking, you can go to thatsoberguy.com. You can check out our Sober Guy men's group. I'd love to have you join us in the group and join all the other guys in there as we continue to grow that. Also mastermind groups. You can book a 30-minute strategy session. It's hard to say for some reason. With me, if you want to talk about your goals, if you're interested in coaching, the mastermind groups or any of the courses we have. And be sure to connect with us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. I appreciate you guys so much, and I thank you for tuning in and supporting the podcast. And man, it's just my honor to be of service. So I hope you all have a great one. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.